Welcome to this week's edition of the ATN Weekly News Roundup. I am Favor Aham, bringing you the top stories that shaped the world, Africa and Nigeria, beginning with the headlines. Khamenei's death triggers power struggle inside Iran. Trump administration bypasses Congress to send $6.5 billion in weapons to Israel. WHO warns Middle East war has disrupted global humanitarian supply hub in Dubai. Deadly landslide kills more than 200 at Congo's coltan mine. China launches plan to build a childbirth-friendly society. Britain suspends study visas for 4 countries over asylum concerns. South Korea suspends Navy chief over alleged role in martial law attempt. United States sanctions Rwanda over alleged backing of Congo rebels. 13 Nigerian banks meet new capital requirements under CBN reforms. Dangote unveils new expansion into steel, power, and port infrastructure. Cristiano Ronaldo travels to Spain for treatment on hamstring injury. Those were the headlines, now the news in detail, beginning from the international scene where in Iran, the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei set off a dramatic political crisis after Tehran confirmed he had been killed in a joint Israeli-U.S. strike on his compound. The 86-year-old cleric, who had ruled the Islamic Republic for more than 3 decades, was reported to have died alongside several family members. His death immediately triggered uncertainty over succession within Iran's clerical establishment, raising fears of a wider regional escalation as rival factions began maneuvering for influence. The Middle East crisis deepened as the United States moved ahead with a major weapons package for Israel. The State's Department approved more than $6.5 billion in military aid, including Apache attack helicopters and combat vehicles, bypassing the usual congressional review process. Officials defended the move as necessary to bolster Israel's defense capabilities, though critics in Washington warned that circumventing lawmakers risked weakening congressional oversight of arms transfers. The war's ripple effects were also felt in global humanitarian operations, as the World Health Organization WHO revealed that the conflict had effectively frozen medical supply shipments from its massive logistics hub in Dubai, one of the world's largest emergency relief distribution centers. Airspace closures and shipping disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz left millions of dollars worth of medical aid stranded, delaying critical deliveries to crisis-stricken countries from Afghanistan to Lebanon. Elsewhere in Africa, tragedy struck Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where a landslide devastated a mining area in the rebel-held town of Rubaya. Government officials said more than 200 people, including dozens of children, died when the collapse buried miners working at the site, one of the country's largest sources of coltan used in electronics manufacturing. Authorities blamed unsafe mining practices under rebel control, though local sources disputed the official death toll. Across Asia, China unveiled an ambitious plan aimed at reversing its demographic decline. Beijing pledged to build what it called a childbirth-friendly society, promising expanded social security, housing support, and economic incentives for families with children. The policy follows 4 consecutive years of population decline, with officials warning that falling birth rates could threaten the country's long-term economic stability. In Europe, Britain tightened its immigration controls by suspending study visas for applicants from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Myanmar, and Sudan. The government said the move targeted widespread abuse of the student visa system after data showed applicants from those countries were more likely to seek asylum after arriving in the UK. Critics argued the restrictions could unfairly penalize genuine students fleeing conflict and instability. There was news that political controversy also unfolded in South Korea, where the country's naval chief received a 1-month suspension over his alleged involvement in former President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed martial law bid in late 2024. Investigators said Admiral Kang Dong-gil had played a role in preparations for a military command structure during the brief declaration of martial law. The disciplinary action followed weeks of scrutiny over the military's conduct during the crisis. Meanwhile, the United States imposed sanctions on Rwanda's army and several senior officials over accusations that Kigali had provided direct support to the M23 rebel group in eastern Congo. Washington said the rebels' territorial gains in the mineral-rich region would not have been possible without Rwandan backing. Rwanda has consistently denied the allegations, even as tensions between Kigali and Kinshasa continue to rise. In Nigeria, the central bank reported that 30 banks had successfully met new minimum capital requirements introduced under the country's banking reform program. According to the regulator, several lenders raised additional funds through rights issues, initial public offerings, and private placements. The recapitalization drive was designed to strengthen the resilience of the financial sector and position banks to support long-term economic growth. At the same time, in Nigeria, industrialist Aliko Dangote announced an ambitious expansion of his conglomerate into steel production, electricity generation, and port infrastructure. Dangote said the move was aimed at accelerating Africa's industrial transformation and reducing reliance on imported materials. His flagship refinery complex is already producing around 650,000 barrels of refined products daily, with plans to double output within 3 years. In football, Cristiano Ronaldo traveled to Spain to receive treatment for a hamstring injury sustained during Al Nassr's recent Saudi Pro League match. Medical tests confirmed the injury was more serious than initially feared, forcing the Portuguese star to undergo rehabilitation in Madrid under the supervision of his personal physiotherapist. It remained uncertain whether the 5-time Ballon d'Or winner would be fit in time for Portugal's upcoming international friendlies. Now that's it on this week's News Roundup. Join us again next weekend for the top stories shaping the world, Africa, and Nigeria. I am Favor Aham. Thank you for watching.